We're flying. Okay, without further ado, everything we need is at our fingertips. And bear with me. We are live on multiple platforms. This is broadcasting onto Facebook, along with VIP access to those who registered in advance. We'll talk a little bit more about that. And thank you so much for being here. Now, the name of the game today that I've promised is getting seen, heard, and hired without selling. I don't know about you, but I hate selling. So what you can expect today, I'm just going to lay it out there and why this is actually a different training, not only for me, but for you to receive. Today, we're going all in and you're going to actually get real-time training. So you're not going to get, which I do enjoy some fluff from time to time, but today that's not what we're up to. You're not going to get a lame fluff-filled type webinar. We've all been on things like that today. This is a masterclass where I'm literally going to give you the nuts and bolts of what works and what doesn't work. So we're going to actually start with what doesn't work. All the things that I've seen my clients try through the years that does not get them seen, heard, hired without selling. Why do we go through that? Because I don't think you have to repeat the same mistakes. And I certainly don't wish or want that for you. And often they can be expensive. Next, I'm going to reveal what does work. And that's, of course, why many of you have shown up. And then I'm going to share some of my clients' greatest successes, because some of us have trouble envisioning what it's going to take to have that level of success. And I don't want there to be any mystery. I want you to be able to have crystal clarity on what it can take to have a success that you might not have had yet. And it's really fun sometimes to celebrate people who have won in a big way, especially knowing that they might have started from ground zero, and that may be you, or from a place of already having an established company, but wanting to go to that next level. Now, I see a few of you might not be muted. I hear a little rustling, so just a little tech today. I may save you some money and humiliation, but I want to make sure you can hear me. So please put yourself on mute if you have not. And as I promised earlier, we are absolutely going to have fun. So type if you are all in the chat, because that's the name of the game. No mystery, no fluff. Here's where we're going. Okay, now, why this is going to work. So my beloved client, who I worked with on her coaching company for CEOs, she works specifically with CEOs, has been such a gracious client and shared a little bit about why she enjoyed working with me. So her opinion, which I really don't really believe in tooting your own horn. This is a marketing 101 tip. So write that down. Don't toot your own horn if somebody else wants to, right? It's so much more attractive to allow others to support you. So, Biscuit. My fluffy dog Biscuit is stepping on some of my cords. I love you, Biscuit. It's always an adventure. So Amy is happy enough to share, which I think you should all always say yes to when your clients want to share good, kind words about your work. And so she has shared with my clients, and you can go to LinkedIn and you can actually see hundreds and hundreds of endorsements and recommendations in there in real time. So I encourage you, before you work with anybody, check them out, right? So thank you for working with me today. Amy feels that I have excellent energy and fantastic creativity. She feels I'm an amazing coach and mentor, and I've helped her create beautiful and inspiring, remember that, branding campaigns that differentiate her company seamlessly, integrating the most important components in an intriguing and purposeful way. I don't think I could appreciate an endorsement anymore. And so part of what I want to break down for you today is how I did that for her. And I affectionately call that, and some of you have seen me talk about this a little bit, the pink panty process. Why, you ask? Because one of my greatest success stories centers around a pair of pink panties that originated in Columbia, South Carolina. We will share that a little bit later. Okay, moving right on. So in return, I ask that you're fully present today, kind and consideration, and we will move right along. By the end of this, you're going to know a strategy to help you attract clients without selling and raise your visibility, literally starting today. That's my commitment to you. Now, you're in the right place if you know you're not being seen enough And you're tired of throwing spaghetti at the wall and flushing money down the toilet. Like, who's not tired of that, right? And you're beginning to see the difference between being seen and heard and being seen and heard and hired. If that's what you want your message to reflect, it's literally your message. That's the difference. And you're in the right place if you're ready to stop selling and learn attraction marketing and messaging. I'm going to explain the difference between what I call pull and push marketing. Have you heard of that? Thumbs up if you've heard of pull marketing or push marketing. Many people have not. Okay, some of you, only see a few thumbs up. So push marketing would be a car salesman who you see live on TV screaming at the top of his lungs, come on down. And he's obnoxious and he is hard to stop watching, right? And he knows that. That's why he screams louder and louder. But he's not pulling you in. He's sort of like pushing his way into your mind. He might be memorable because you're like, ugh, I can't stand when people scream at my face. But that's not the kind of marketing we're talking about today. Because A, that can be exhausting if you're trying to do it. B, it does repel a lot of people. It works for some, but for a lot of people, I don't know about you, I personally get turned off by that. Attraction marketing is being so on point and clear, and we'll get into this a lot more today, on who you are and the game that you're up to, your mission and message, that people are just attracted to you. They want to feature you in magazines. They want to work with you because there is no mystery or confusion, and there is nothing in your marketing or messaging that is going to repel them in a push marketing kind of way. Now, this workshop is definitely not for you if you aren't ready to grow. It's amazing. Sometimes I'll talk to people on the phone and we'll talk a little bit about what growth looks like. And then they just say, I'm scared, I might not be ready. You're never going to be ready. That's one thing that I just want to be clear. You're never going to be ready, but if you're not ready to grow, I can't work with you. And if you're committed to being a lone wolf, which I used to be, and I will definitely openly and vulnerably share that with you, this is not for you, because being a lone wolf simply does not work when you're raising your game. It's one of those things where it can only get you so far. And we're going to talk about stories where that's the exact situation. And then of course the opposite. And finally, if you're really content, for instance, like you might be hiding on camera today and you're really comfortable staying there off camera, out of the limelight, not being seen, that is a perfectly understandable trait, but it is rarely the recipe for success with you and your company. So those are the things that we want to just put it on the table. I am totally not hurt and I am not insulted if you want to tune out, because all those things really indicate that this is not for you. Now, there are two things I'm going to offer to people today, which I've never done before. I am not on this call selling anything, just to be clear and upfront and transparent. However, if you do have an interest in working with me, and later on we'll get into what that looks like, and you take some fast action, I do have two offerings that I'm going to let you pick from. So I just want to have some fun in the chat. Would you, when this pandemic ends, love to come on a cruise on the ocean with just my VIP clients, you and me, and enjoy a fine sunset and talk about what it's like to level up in 2021? Because I know in 2021, there's going to come a moment where we can come together. Or would you like to simply just join a live training, which I've never done before, on 18 ways to raise your visibility? It's one of the things I believe in most, that there are several different ways to raise your visibility, but for every company, that recipe is different. So I've always shared these 18 ways, but I've never gone through a live training with my audience to say, which it would be. So which one would you be most interested in? Because we will circle back and we will look at that. And I will absolutely honor whatever the general consensus is. We'll go back. Okay, now, here's something that I really want to take a moment to get into your head with, because this is something that I've struggled with my whole life, the easy path or the hard path. So for fun, I want to talk to you about that, because I'm going to use the analogy of getting ready for a race. I have done not one, not two, but 3 triathlons. And each time I approached the race, it was a little different. And I would love to know for you to move forward, what kind of a runner are you? Do you pick the hard path and train alone and run alone and work out alone and prepare alone? Or do you choose the easy path? So I'd love to know in the chat if you're ready to be part of a running club when you race, or if you do run or do anything in a group way. Do you join the group club? Do you get a coach? Do you like scientific support, nutritional support, pro support, pulling out all the stops for the easy path? A little confession. Most of my life, up until about the last 10 years, I was a solo runner. My first race, I barely crossed the finish line. I did it all on my own. My second race, I allowed my boyfriend, who was a pro triathlete, to finally help me a little bit. And then my third race, I started joining a yoga group, believe it or not. And with my boyfriend's help, the yoga group, I finished the same race I had done before. This is actually miraculous, by the way, 15 minutes faster. So you're like, how would you do a 15-minute gain? That's like unheard of if you're doing the same course over and over again. And that's when the light bulb started to go off for me that my solo running was not serving me for my highest and my best. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in the race, I'm not competitive with others. My greatest competitor I have found through the years is my former self. And I'm always committed to leveling up. And what I have learned is that my tendency to be a lone wolf, and we'll talk about it because I have been this way for many years to my greatest deficit, hasn't served me. So I just want to know what kind of person you are, because it's good to get to know you and how your mind works. Are you a solo runner? Are you more interested in the easy path, which looks like support and more data and studies and systems and things like that that can get you across the finish line, but just faster? So it's fun to think about these things, and we don't often address them, and we don't visualize it in our mind. So I'm really excited to see some new friends on here. So I see some current and previous clients, but lots of new people are tuning in, both online, on Facebook with us today. And I am really excited to meet you. So for those of you who don't know me, this is actually not a presentation about me. So I'm just going to be really brief. I just want to share that I am a motivational speaker. So you'll feel my energy today. I love more than anything lighting people up, whether it's through a screen like this today, or through marketing, or through helping people find really great media opportunities and mentoring them. And I run a mastermind. It's the one thing that I do when I'm not speaking. I used to do 100,000 other things, but I run a mastermind today. That's all. And I love it. I love the community, the connection, the power of our group. And I wouldn't trade it for the world, but it wasn't always that way. And I am currently a sunset and dream chaser who resides in California. The reason I'm a sunset and dream chaser is I didn't always live my dreams, and I didn't always have the view I have behind me for sunsets. But now I am living with all those things. And I do have one dream that's unfulfilled. And if we have time, I'll be happy to share it with you, because we all have unfulfilled dreams. But right now, I'm pretty delighted to be living most of my dream here with Biscuit, my little furry monster who is underneath my feet. Maybe she'll make a debut. All right, so who am I, you might be wondering, and why would you bother listening to me if we've just met? So as I shared a little bit earlier, and if you tuned in a little late, I am a master trainer who's mentored hundreds of business owners over the years and built campaigns that have literally generated millions in revenue for my clients. But today, I'm currently supporting clients all over the world in their digital marketing, generating revenue, visibility, messaging, and soaring profits and branding. Those are all the things that my mastermind covers. However, what many people don't know, which is kind of fun for me to reveal for you today, is that was never my plan. I actually grew up with a little bit of a poverty mindset. And that's because my dad was born into poverty, literally horrific poverty. And he was a wonderful parent, as was my mom, but struggling and just getting by was sort of the norm as he grew up. And he wanted more for me, but we kind of grew up like, just get through today. And then we can dream a little bit. But the dream had terms and conditions. My dad believed that we should always have a job, because sales versus a job, living in sales versus a job, had no security. So his feeling was, you want a paycheck. I think that really resulted from his mom rarely having enough to feed his siblings. He was from a family of 5. And also, the funniest thing that happened was that I was fired through the years over and over working in television. And I've never talked too much publicly about this, but what you don't know is that when you work in TV news, it's very superficial. So the news director is the hiring person. And often you would walk into a newsroom where I was working as a TV anchor for many years, and everybody looked just like me. They had brown hair, blue eyes, and it was kind of freaky. But it wasn't a mistake. You see, news directors literally build a visual team of what they think works or sells the news, because you have to sell the news in order to pay for the news. And that's how people get paid if you work there. And there are many a time where the news director gets fired. So if you get hired with the perfect hair and eye color by one guy and a new guy comes in, guess who gets fired? This girl. So I actually went through that probably more times than I can count. And I've lived and worked for TV stations all over the United States. I have moved more than 25 times, and I have had what I would call nothing short of horrific bosses. Type just like me, if you've had a horrific boss before. That would be somebody who isn't maybe supportive, or in many of my cases, might just be unstable. There are a lot of crazies out there, and it happens. So, thank you so much, by the way, for everybody who's muting. If I catch that you're not muted, I will help you, just so we can keep it quiet and keep it moving without distraction. So how did somebody with a poverty mindset who'd been fired repeatedly while she was allegedly living her initial dream wind up with a huge breakthrough and a ton of abundance? I wound up losing my job at a TV station, going into a dress shop where I had been working as an anchor in that community. The lovely lady recognized me and said, "Why aren't you on the news anymore?" I'm like, "Well, not working at the moment." And she said, "This is perfect. You should be the president and chief executive officer of the Chamber of Commerce." To which I was like, "Are you kidding me?" But as luck would have it, I went through this rigorous interview process. I gave it a chance. And here's what I found out. In a little town in South Carolina, in the Chamber of Commerce, there was one thing that all the large corporations, down to the smallest of small, shared that slowed them down. They weren't clear on their messaging. And as a journalist and a former television personality, I could see so clearly what their fabulous message was, even if they didn't see it. And we would have things like luncheons. And I see my friend Lisa, who used to come to those. And the numbers and the attendance in the luncheons tripled because they gave me a microphone where I could interview people and quickly, even live in front of everybody in an audience, pull out the things that make their company magical. Sometimes they were really funny. We all love laughing. And attendance began to skyrocket. Memberships grew like crazy. And I was having more fun than I'd ever had in my life as a journalist, believe it or not. So I really figured out that I love to be in service. So journalism is about telling a story, but often in the newsroom, it was doom and gloom. So it was the first time I actually used this powerful gift that I didn't know I had to create massive income for others. At that time, I had never invested in myself personally or professionally until I wound up joining something called a mastermind. So type I know if you have heard of a mastermind, because I would love to know what you've heard about them or not. I knew nothing about them. I actually heard they were good to be a part of. And so I was delighted to join. And I literally had no idea what I was doing. Everybody kept saying, just be of service. It's not about you. I'm like, well, I joined this to grow my company, so I didn't fully grasp it, but I am coachable. And that's one thing I like about myself. So I jumped in. I literally listened to everything that they were saying. And in a mastermind, this is, by the way, designed, if you've never heard of it, by a gentleman named Napoleon Hill. You can look it up. And it's just this concept that you, Brenda, who's watching, and you, Marilee, all of you, Mimi, can work really hard and have a certain level of success on your own. But if you're to join forces with certain like-minded people collectively, your success can then be limitless. It sounded really good. I was a little skeptical, but I jumped in, and as a marketer and somebody who knew that I could help everybody in the group's message, I gave and gave and gave. I literally, every time we met, slipped notes and whatever to help people with their marketing and messaging. What I never expected is that first year when I invested, and don't have a heart attack, but I'll tell you what I invested. My mom, I still to this day, I haven't told her. I hope my mom doesn't see the recording. It was like $50,000 to join that. Nothing we're talking about today is that much money. But guess what? My revenue that year went up 464% in 1 year because people kept pulling me out of the meetings like we get to work together. I never even asked for business. I learned the difference between pushing your way through and asking and really just showing up with your gifts and doing it as often as I could, wherever I could, taking the coaching and the theory of mastermind, and it worked in an unbelievable, life-changing way. And as a consequence, I literally couldn't believe what was ahead of me in the world of exposure. In just this past year, I was literally on the cover of 2 national magazines. I never paid for those opportunities. I never asked for those opportunities. In fact, I was astounded. You can literally go to motivationandsuccess.com, look up the June issue of Shot Callers magazine, and hear my full life story. Like, that's there forever. That's what I call the greatest gift of some marketing that's forever renewable. There are certain pieces that will live on forever if you get picked up. That happened to me. And I literally worked with a doctor who didn't know how to position his message. This is the pink panty process I referenced before. And he wanted to do something different, didn't know how to do it. And he reached out to me and asked for support. It turns out he was a colonoscopist, right? Not so sexy. And I'll make this story short, but it's a really powerful one. And he said he was open to being funny. And I am actually really funny. I mean, yesterday I had my friend Edwina laughing so hard that one of my eyelashes flipped off. I'm like, wouldn't that be perfect if that happened live in my masterclass? And then we almost wet our pants. Like, so the point is, I don't mind being silly. I am absolutely vulnerable and super real. So this doctor was willing to take a chance on me. He was my very first client. And he literally said, whatever it takes, Meredith. So I said, I think we should design pink panties that say, leave no behind behind. And he's like, great, where are we going to use them? And I said, I don't know. I know that you're usually part of a 5K colon cancer awareness race. So why don't you just sponsor this year and we can give away the pink panties? So the day of the race came. People were fighting over the pink panties, putting them on over their pants, over their shorts. And the entire race, thousands of people had leave no behind on their backside and my doctor's phone number and website. Now, needless to say, his revenue went up over $1 million in less than 9 months with this campaign. I mean, he ran with it. And his message was all he wanted to do was save more lives and leave no behind, right? Super funny and silly, but super impactful and memorable. He got picked up in that race by television. We invited the television. Thank God it was a slow news day and there was no fire, but it got picked up. The pink panties were on Fox, ABC, NBC, CBS, and the next day, Leave No Behind was on the cover of the newspaper. So in addition to that, I have this panty good luck. I have a current client who has a lingerie line. For the first time she ever set the goal together, and we set the goal together, she exceeded $10,000 in revenue for sales for a brand new launch of her product in just her first month of trying. That's the glory of getting support. And that, to me, giving that support is the greatest reward of my life. And here's the thing that comes from focusing on your message. Good news travels fast. My friend who had that great success, my clients always become my friends, by the way. She shared it with a friend, and now that friend is in my mastermind. And I'm literally have people all over the world that I get to work with. Slovenia, Ireland, Canada. I mean, you name the country. I now have clients in Scotland, which I'm delighted to work with as well, who are absolutely awesome and on this broadcast. And right now, all of that giving has allowed such an abundant lifestyle for me that I'm literally living my dream on the ocean, which is why you see a palm tree and possibly some boats behind me. I can't see my full screen there. But that's what happens when you have a come from focusing on your messaging. Clear messaging not only gets you seen, heard, and hired without selling, no matter how amazing your product or service is, nobody will buy it if they don't know about it. So messaging and visibility are essential to be successful in business. Okay, so I think it's really important to go through the greatest mistakes that people make so we can just get them out of the way. Please, you don't have to repeat what I have done, what my clients have done, if I tell you. Now, I know sometimes you need a little bit of evidence, so I'm just going to go through it. The biggest mistake people make, and there are just 3 that happen over and over again, and when you work with hundreds of clients and inherit them after they've made this mistake, it becomes very clear. So here's my gift to you today. Number 1, most people say, I can't afford to work on my messaging. The second thing they say is, I'd rather just figure this out on my own. I'd rather just really focus. And that's like code for I'm a lone wolf. And as a former recovering lone wolf, I know this all too well. And we're going to dig deep into this because there's a lot behind why we do these things. And I thought it was really important to discuss not only the mistakes, but why we make them so that we don't have to. And then the third thing, which I see quite a bit, is you're a trier and not a buyer. You're not committed per se. Like you're willing to try a little of this, to try a little bit of that. You might try 10 different programs, but you're not fully committed to see it all through. And literally, that was my life story for ages. I would try just new things. I like trying new things, but I didn't really sit and think like, is this thing the right thing for me? So I would love for you to chat in the note because I love to be interactive. Are you a trier? Are you a lone wolf? Do you have a money story? Like, it's so good to just be honest because we all know that putting on a front doesn't help. And if you're trying to clear up your mistakes, you just get to be honest about where you've been, where you are. It's fine. There's no judgment here. So here's something that really helped me look at this more clearly. Would you be more likely to buy a car you have never seen and you're not even clear on how it works, or a car that's right in front of you that you see, have become familiar with from, say, commercials, a branding story, and clearly understand its features and benefits? It's like the stupidest thing you've ever heard, right? Of course, you're going to be more likely to buy something that you're familiar with, that you understand, that has features and benefits that are laid out right in front of you. Would you ever buy a car you've never seen and heard of and have no idea how it works? No or no? No. But here's the other thing that most people don't get. People don't buy things. They buy the message. And your message and products will never sell if they aren't being seen. By the way, I'm seeing lots of typos and I love it. I got really messy and excited last night. I'm a terrible typist, so I hope you're enjoying that. But listen, here's the thing. People don't want to be sold. They want to see you, fall in love with you and your mission and message. So getting seen and heard is literally everything. That's why I designed this presentation today. Now, myth number 1, you can't afford to work on your message and invest in getting seen. So I hear this all the time. I know everybody who's a professional has a service. You're going to come up against this. So this is a really good thing to just break down. Maybe what's under it is you're nervous, you're indecisive or unsure. In my case, I used to just be a buyer of small things. I love cutting corners. I mean, in a race, you can't do that. But at the end of the day, if there was a corner to be cut, the old version of me would do it. And I would live in this world of fear. Fear over just believing, fear over faith for guiding myself. Can you relate to that? Because I know that was something that went on for me for a long time. And if this is you, you keep trying new things, you trade for services instead of buying them, and that always winds up feeling icky at some point, or somebody gets misunderstood, or somebody gets left out. Now, why people hold back on investing in support is you think at some point luck and timing will support your success. And occasionally that's true. Or maybe you're afraid of making a bad investment. But here's the thing, if nothing changes, right? Because this is the most common and expensive mistake my clients make. Literally almost 99% of people, if they've already been an entrepreneur and I inherit them as a client, come to me after a constant struggle with figuring out their marketing. And they're in a lot of stress because it gets to be expensive. Like, would you pay to fly on a plane guided by an untrained pilot? Never. That's like insanity, because time and money are both wasted there, and then you're not even safe. So you get what I'm saying. Like, you can't just keep investing on things that are uncertain if you really want to be a success. So I think that this is an important conversation to have. And I'm going to open it up here in a minute for some feedback. Now, the prices we pay and how we turn it around. Believing you don't have the money keeps you from growth, obviously, and support. And most importantly, what I'm focusing on today, exposure. When you're brave and you invest, you can always move forward faster with the right support. Because I know you've heard this before, but this is one of my favorite things to say. If nothing changes, nothing changes. You have no new audience, buyers, and leads. And if there is something, like, write this down, that you could just focus on your wall every day, all day, and knew how to achieve, it would be growing your audience, growing your buyers, and growing your leads. That is the recipe for success. What most people falter on is how to get there. By the way, housekeeping, please hydrate. We have a lot we're going through. And I need you in tip-top performance to make it through to the end, because I have some exciting things to share with you. Okay, so I've literally inherited hundreds of clients fed up with crappy results that have had really insane return once we've helped them figure out smart investments. So when I talk about investments, I'm not necessarily talking about with me. I help people decide what kind of media to spend their money on, what doesn't make sense for them and would be flushing down the toilet, or what would be the perfect recipe for success. I don't think the doctor that I work with in my very first client, who I helped make over $1 million really quick, would have ever thought pink panties were the answer. But he was wise enough to look for some support, some creativity, and he knew enough to know that he had actually invested a lot of time and money in the past. But these weren't things or people that supported his dreams and goals, and he wanted massive impact. He was not, by the way, looking for revenue, and that is something that I will bring up time and time again. He wanted to save more lives. That's how he hooked me into working with him, and I really stand by that principle today. If I'm not aligned with your values, and this goes with you too, if you're not aligned with the values of people who want to work with you, don't do it. Because if you are, the sky is the limit for opportunities. And if you aren't, it just doesn't feel good. And the whole reason I work is I love helping people build their dreams. And it usually looks like building their marketing and messaging to build their company. It's all interconnected. But you got to be clear. Okay, so the next one, if I was a great graphic designer, and maybe in the next rendition of this, I would have a great wolf photo for you, because I was a lone wolf for a really long time. So will all my lone wolves please raise your hand, type in the chat, tell me if you are better off alone. If you felt that way in the past. You may not feel better off alone in general, but it is a story that happens time and time again. The lone wolf literally wants to work with others, but just doesn't do it. There's a lot that goes on behind that, and we're going to unpack it. The symptoms of the mistake is you often burn out. I know that because I've done it repeatedly, over and over again, like literally over and over and over. My friend Lisa, who's watching from South Carolina, might remember I used to host a TV show on NBC. It's called The Meredith Show. It still lives on online now, but hosting it on NBC while I was hosting a live radio show, while I was running my company, which I still have today. It was insane. I literally burnt myself to a crisp the first year I worked on a TV show, hosting it on NBC, and a radio show, and running a marketing agency that was unexpectedly, never planned, but exploding. It literally burnt me to a crisp. And when you're a lone wolf, because I had this story that I didn't need a lot of support, I didn't need assistance. Could you imagine doing all that? I mean, I had a little bit of part-time help, but I didn't have a full solid team anywhere. I literally produced the show. I booked the guests. I had somebody who like confirmed the appointments. This is not the way to go, people. And I know you know what I'm talking about if you try to just handle everything yourself. That was my story for a very long time. You will struggle. And in my case, and I hope not for yours, it is very likely you will live in a constant state of anxiety. Now, there is this beautiful thing. We can recognize the why behind it. Honestly, that was just because I didn't trust others. And I was not very courageous at that time. Believe it or not, I was courageous enough to be live in front of millions of people on TV. I've done that for years, but I didn't trust others to support me. And that belief kind of looks like you really believe you can do what you need to do to get seen and grow despite the fact that you aren't over and over in this case. So that's where lone wolfing might have brought you to today, why you're here. Now, why wouldn't you? So what is COI? We know about ROI. Does anybody know what COI is? You can type it in the chat. COI, if nothing changes, is what we're talking about. So I'll give you a second. COI, if you've never heard of it, is something that we should all really think about more if we own a company or aspire to. It's called the cost of inaction. Write that down. I have seen business owners go bankrupt because they don't get the support that they desperately need. Literally watched it, especially when I ran that Chamber of Commerce. It was so sad to see so many solopreneurs put everything on the line, mortgage their homes. I know people who've double mortgaged their homes, believing in their dream, but they didn't set up a support system. They weren't clear on their messaging. They didn't have a team or a mentor, just as simple as a mentor, which is the support that they desperately needed. And success is still possible, but it can be painfully slow and truthfully inconsistent, which is nothing that you want if you have your own company. And the worst part about that is no one will see you if you aren't clear on your messaging and present and being picked up. And that means very few leads and very few sales. Now, I'm going to try really quick to just kind of check on the chat. Wow. A reformed lone wolf, Mandy and Gordon, recovering lone wolf, but we know that you're better off to work with others. Wow, lots of other lone wolves out there. I love this. Thank you, Charla. Yes, nurses can totally be lone wolves, definitely. And I'm so glad to see you here. So how changing to getting support looks. Money invested in your company, in my experience, to dial in your messaging, bar everything else, can return to you tenfold. So if the odds are in your favor, if I were you, I would take that into consideration. I would write it down, just put it on a little sticky note. If it's new to you, we'll get deeper into this. Because when I told you, when I finally joined my mastermind, well over 400% revenue soared that year. But with one session of support, I told you, I taught one of my clients to help surge her revenue beyond $10,000. That same lingerie client, I taught her how to sell live online, and she literally sold out of her clothes the first 2 times she went live. So I don't think there was a lack of capability in that client. In fact, she always had it in her. She just didn't know how to get it done. It's that simple. You don't know what you don't know, right? And that had never, ever happened for her so fast. So don't beat yourself up if it's not happening. You don't know what you don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. We all don't know what we don't know. Can we agree on that? Yes or yes? Type in the chat, because you're not alone. Now, here's the other greatest mistake, so we can get all these mistakes out of the way. The final mistake is you're just going to try anything. Say that's me if that's been you in the past. Like, I'm just going to try something because trying nothing doesn't feel good. And I definitely think trying something or trying anything is better than trying nothing. But that's a mistake I see all the time when I inherit new clients. And here's the thing. The reason why you flail is you have no idea what to do. So you just do something, but that's like throwing spaghetti at the wall. and expecting it to stick. Often that stems from having commitment issues. You change vendors. This could be you over and over, and just look at how it shows up in your life everywhere, by the way. That means you're somebody who goes through hairdressers and so many other things over and over. And if you really look under it, you might have a commitment issue. My name is Meredith. I know I have had a commitment issue through the years. I have tried a lot of things and it wasn't really serving me, which is why I thought it was so important to share here, because it never served my clients to just try things. There's a false belief there. And here's the thing. False beliefs not only cause mistakes, but you almost never get results because you're letting fear rule your decisions. So what I'm trying to say is, when you just pick anything, you're doing it because you're afraid of doing something that's a little bit out of your comfort zone, but might be the best thing for you. Instead, you'll do little things. You'll just change and change and change. Just like me. Please type just like me if you see what I'm saying, if that's like you. Now, COI, the cost of inaction, if nothing changes in that situation, is you are slowing your growth so much. It's crazy. That's what I'm here to tell you. The competition will fly forward so much faster if they have what it takes to get support and systems and tried and true mechanisms and somebody who knows how to figure that out faster. And you'll never catch up without systems and support. So I'm not here to say you shouldn't try new things. Yes, we all get to try new things, but you want to do it with a little bit of support. You absolutely want to do it with systems. It is only in the last 2 years I have begun to implement systems. I have had a really cool story, even after failures, burnouts, of recovering and rising at record rates with my personal company revenue when I figured out systems and support were what I was lacking. I mean, I'm not here showing up to you to just preach. This is my story, and these are my client stories for years now. So the fast road to abundance, which is what I believe you showed up here for, or the faster road, is finding support, creating your message, and literally sharing it everywhere. I wrote capital letters so that you could write that down too. Share it everywhere. What does that mean? In the elevator, when you're talking to somebody and they say, "What are you up to today?" "Well, I'm a marketing and messaging pro and I'm so excited. I'm doing it this morning." All about it. And she was excited. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I wanted to get into digital stuff." That could be a new client for me. I'm going to send her the recording. I didn't plan that. I wasn't selling anything, but I love what I do and I share it everywhere I go. And when you're able to succinctly and clearly dial in your message and share it everywhere, unbelievable things happen. Like unbelievable. I have some stories that would blow your mind, and I'm happy to give them to you in the next event we do them together, but I want to stay on task here. So here's your pro tip here. Now, the pink panty process that I referenced earlier, the doctor I had worked with knew his methods weren't sticking. So he was more committed to saving lives and investing a budget than throwing spaghetti at the wall like we talked about. And trust me, we all throw spaghetti at the wall from time to time. We all try new things. But imagine the time and energy and money we would save if we invested with the right method for us and we dialed in our message. Now, the truth is, I don't know about you, but if you've ever figured out a good change in your life, it feels good to share it. I literally changed my life and business and success when I invested in my company for the first time to go into a mastermind. And it literally not only leveled up my business, but in the biggest way, my life, because it introduced me to people all over the world, just like me, who were figuring out their company and willing to help each other. And those are the kind of people that I want to surround myself with all day, every day. And I have a feeling you too. Now, here's the good stuff. How am I going to do this? You say, Meredith, this is why you showed up. And I'm going to go into it. There are actually 4 pillars of the process that I walk all my clients through. And these are not things that we normally do overnight, but today I'm going to give you some actionable steps. So are you ready? Type yes in the chat if you are ready to take actionable steps to get seen, heard, and hired without selling. And we're going to have lots of fun with this, because the first one, you knew it was coming. I hope you knew it was coming. There are 3 C's I always talk about, and they are literally my tenet for success. I am absolutely dedicated to sharing this message with the entire world as long as I live, till death do we part. I am really, really serious about the word clarity. So write this down. You get to master who you serve, who you are, what you do, where you do it, when, why, and how. I call that the 5 W's with the side of H. Who, what, where, when, why, and how you do what you do. And you get to learn to say it succinctly. In my mastermind, literally, I for months, I call on people and invite them to introduce themselves, to dial it in, My second panty success with the lingerie line client that I have. And by the way, I never select my clients. They find me. So I think it's really funny. I've had 2 smashing successes surrounded by panties, so it makes for a lot of fun to talk about. She had never really realized that her story of how her mother sacrificed her life, literally, I believe she died from a heart attack. I can't remember if it was a heart attack or a stroke, but she was just so focused on serving outward in her life and not taking great care of herself, that her daughter, my client, has dedicated her life to creating lingerie that empowers women to feel beautiful and take care of themselves inside and out. So the lingerie line that she designs is not to be sexy for others. It starts with her, and it starts with you if you buy it, and it feels good and it looks beautiful. And when we really nailed that down for her, it was like unbelievable, the successes that she had in succession, and she continues to have. And that is what clarity over who you are and how you connect and talk about yourself and brand yourself and share your message through. So is this helpful? Yes or yes in the chat, please. Again, who, what, where, when, why, and how. So I absolutely encourage you to go to modernmatchlingerie.com. That's the name of the company. And yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that for those of you who are asking in the chat. But who, what, where, when, and why, and how is literally your message. And if you stick anything else in there, it doesn't belong. And yes, thank you. Some of you know my client, Shauna. I love her. And by the way, her last name is the same as mine, but we are sisters from another mister, not the same dad. Isn't that cool? So as a side note, write down today, if you've never done this, who you are, what you do, where you do it, when, why, and how, and put it into a succinct, like 3 sentences, and keep dialing it in and practicing it and share it with your barista like I did this morning. You have no idea the abundance that awaits you, the connections that happen. And that brings me to my second step that is infallible. It is connections. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Uh-oh, SpaghettiO, stand by. I made the chat so big I can't see my slides. Technical. There we go. All right. Sorry about that, guys. Oops, I keep doing it. So the next C that we're going to get into is connections. This is the real teaching part here. You need to get a hold of what's holding you back. So I want you right now to type in the chat, to write the note for yourself, 3 things that are holding you back. Are you the lone wolf that we talked about still? Are you still working in that? Are you undercommitted? Maybe it's just fear, and that's fine. Whatever those 3 things are, write them down. And then I love to work in 3s because it keeps people from getting overwhelmed. And then I think you should share them here in the chat because it's really, really fun to see what comes up for you. What I find fascinating is there are so many similarities in what holds us back. And once we are clear on, and we're connected to what's not working for us, we really open up space. We get laser clear on the opportunities for our company. And at the end of the day, we can connect with what will work. But we can't do that without getting really clear on what's holding us back. And we'll revisit that in a moment. Then here's the other magical thing that can transform your company. So please write this down. You get to look at 3 organizations or connections that can help you. I think I wrote tribe, but help you find your tribe for your business. So here's the thing. You have a tribe. You may not have a big tribe right now, but are you doing it by yourself? And here's an example of what I'm talking about. Have you taken advantage of the digital platforms? Are you on Meetup, say twice a week, getting out there and sharing, now that you understand that clearly being able to vocalize your message is everything, and sharing what it is that you're doing and looking for people that you can work together with? One of the coolest things that my clients and I talk about is collaborations, because it's that whole concept of masterminding that works with other things. So why do masterminds have such success within them? Because collectively your success can be better. And in a mastermind, that's the whole intention. Well, guess what? If you set up a little partnership for yourself, or 3, you're 3 timesing the opportunity to meet more people, to connect with more clients, to get more visible 3 times faster. And in that partnership, you can have 3 times the abundance that you had before you did with 3 new friends who might be referral partners. They might be, I have a friend, Lisa, who I just share with my mastermind. People constantly want to hire me and her for complimentary work. So we're like, let's just put together a package. I never would have thought of that if I wasn't friends with Lisa and met with her regularly to see how we could support each other. She's powerful at PR, as am I, but I love the messaging portion. She loves booking people. So how powerful is that we could serve people with those things together? Because connected, all those dots, you can have unbelievable exposure. And exposure means you have leads. And leads mean you have clients, because you need all those things to move forward. So are you following what I'm saying? Yes or yes in the chat. Look at all these fears. Yeah, we have so many similar fears. And the clarity and perfectionism that Trish mentioned, that comes up all the time. These partnerships, like, give me an example if you've thought of a partnership. And I really encourage you today to write this down and then commit to yourself that you're going to reach out to these people, not just to make the list. Action, committed action. That's another really big C. Are you committed to take action today? That's what I wanted to promise to you, that you could literally change the course of what you're up to when you get clear on this and you get connected. So to me, there's 2 phases of connection. Connection to yourself. What's holding you back? What opportunities do you have? And then who can you connect to? Because trust me when I tell you, millionaires are not built by themselves. Name one. It just doesn't work. You get to have support. You get to do things that really are in your wheelhouse and your gift zone, and then you get to delegate. Delegating is so helpful. Julie, I'm glad this is serving you. So if you say no, tell me what's coming up for you if you're confused on any of this, because Charlotte asked me a good question. So I'm always open to these conversations. And Julie, when you say this is so terrific, what's landing with you? I'd love to know specifically what you hear me saying or what you're enjoying about what you're learning today. These actionable steps can literally change the trajectory of your business. And I'm really committed today to making this, like I said, time is the only thing that's not replaceable. So I want to make this really helpful. And we're in the meat and potatoes now. We're really, really dialing it in. The third thing, as you share what's landing with you, please keep sharing, because it really supports not just yourself, but the others who are watching. And it's just gorgeous to see what lands when you're really communicating and it's really coming through. So thank you for that. It's a gift for me as well to see what you hear me saying. Now, the final C that we're going to be talking about today, I love M's and C's. You'll see this all throughout my signature talks and through my work in my mastermind, is courage. People who are in my mastermind, and some of them have showed up today, know I talk about this, but you really can't talk about courage enough. What are your 3 biggest fears? We sort of touched on them before, but here's the thing. You've got to walk through them. I would not be in California today if I listened to my favorite person on this earth, which was my mother, who told me when I was living with her in not too far away Las Vegas, where lots of moms and dads retire very nicely, where the cost of living is much cheaper. And right now the coronavirus is a lot less. Mom said to me a couple of years ago, you can't leave and go to California. You literally just can't do that. And I literally listened to her, because at the time she made this case, you have a radio show here, you have clients that are based here, your family is here. Why on earth would you go to California? I mean, she's literally naming every fear I had. She even went into the earthquakes. She went into the traffic, which, by the way, prior to coronavirus was atrocious. Mom was right about so many of those things, but guess what? My mother doesn't live my life. She doesn't live my dream. And I figured out, it's like one day I woke up and I'm like, it doesn't matter what mom says. I get to live my life. It was like, I don't even know where the courage came from. I didn't know. I knew one person in all of Los Angeles, and I came anyway. And extraordinary things happened. The first job I got was my first paid speaking gig, where I was flown first class to a limo waiting to take me to the largest audience for the largest paycheck I ever had in my life. And I don't believe I would have gotten that opportunity had I not had the courage to live my dream and go for it full on. I didn't have a home lined up here. I didn't have a job. I literally just had my company that I was so uncertain about in so many ways, and my dream of speaking and getting paid for it. I was always speaking and not always getting paid. And now I am a paid professional public speaker. So please, right now, write down your fears, share them in the chat. What are you afraid of right now that's holding you back? And then we're going to talk about committing to yourself to walk through them. But there's some power in admitting your fears. I was afraid of everything my mother mentioned, and failure. Like, we didn't even talk about that. I was so afraid of failing. And, you know, that's a reality. But here's the thing. So what? Go for it anyway. Because I have found the greatest gifts in failures. I have been fired from TV stations for my hair color, my eye color, and sometimes reasons I don't even know. But it was perfect, because I was not destined to just sit and read dark, sad news stories. My greatest purpose in life is serving others, with creating their messages, with helping them grow their companies, because that's what gets me up in the morning. What gets you up in the morning? And more importantly, what's holding you back from doing that? So I would love for you to share, if you feel courageous enough, some of your fears. Share them in the chat, share them with others, because we all have fears. I mean, if you're not typing in there, do yourself a service and make sure you have a minimum of 3 fears that you're willing to admit, because you've got to have the courage to walk through them. You have got to just take yourself seriously enough to take yourself on, because you are worth it. And if you don't feel my love and enthusiasm, I'm just going to stare you down. No, I'm just kidding. Like, you get to really press into these fears. I would never be in California if I bought into it was too expensive. That was another big thing I don't think I mentioned, to come here. Well, guess what? I am not braggadocious, but here's something that I think you will find quite inspiring. I have literally never made more money in my life. And I have had some really hard times. So if you're having a really hard time, trust that you get to walk through your fears, because all of the abundance and opportunity is walking through them. And it was a ton of struggle. I mean, I was terrified when I arrived here. I didn't even know my way around to find a drugstore. I had to ask somebody, you know, Google was my best friend, literally, because I didn't have a human around. My one friend who lived here lived on the other side of town when I came. Imagine that. So you get to share your fears and walk right through them. And if anybody has any questions about that, type in the chat. If anything's coming up from you that's stopping you from sharing your fears, fine. Fear of being disappointed, by the way, is just like fear of failure. It comes up all the time. And so, Sean, perfect. That is perfect. There should be no apology. Not having enough money, by the way, was huge coming to California for me. So I totally get that. In fact, I was ready. I was researching if I had to cash out my 401k, which is literally all I had because I didn't have a savings when I came here to the most expensive place on earth. I looked at what that would look like. I remember calling somebody, phoning a friend, like, how much penalty do you pay? And thank God I didn't have to cash it in, but I would have. And I would have had no regrets because you're worth betting on you. And if you don't walk through your fear, you will never know what it's like to have that sweet feeling to live your dream. Trust me when I tell you, because everything's on the other side of it. So here's where the motivator comes out of me, like Meredith, the motivator. I can't help it. All right, I'm going to give you some more content to take home so that I can trust that I am teaching the best that I can and as much as I can here so that you have the value that you signed up for. Now, the biggest thing is if you've lined up your fears, you've got to commit to yourself to walk through them. And I encourage you to recommit to it every day because guess what's going to happen? You'll wake up tomorrow and the fear is going to be back. Trust that if you have a fear, it will always return. And there is nothing wrong with that. It is so normal, so common, and so important for you to acknowledge it's part of life. But walking through it, by the way, I'll never forget this. One of the most fun speaking gigs I ever had was a panel where I got to talk about an unexpected huge success I had. It was in Palm Springs. It was at an event called The Zone. And I remember saying to thousands of people live, they were webcasting it all over the world. And it was one of the largest audiences I had ever spoken to. That year that I had the greatest success I had to date, which is why I was invited to talk about it, I was terrified the entire year, stretching myself beyond imagine. I mean, literally stretching everything in every way possible. My endurance, my ability to handle being scared, I'm going to curse, shitless anyway, and doing something anyway. I mean, literally, I had never been on stages this big. And I was, what I have found is what's really interesting in that interview, people that are on this broadcast became my clients. And one of them said, it was how you showed up on stage, so raw and so honest. So what I ask of you is to just be so raw and honest with yourself. And then you'll find the courage to go for whatever it is anyway, to literally attract the people that you want to work with because they see the truth. They can see through the crap. If you put up a shield and you pretend like you're doing great when you're not, they can see through it. I can see through it, and so can you. And so it's so much better to just be honest about what scares you shitless and going for it anyway. So that is why the 3 C's are so huge for me. The final thing, though, that I would love to share, and I wasn't going to go there, but I think we have enough time because this is super inspiring, is I got through most of my life and my career without a mentor. And I would love for you to consider the possibility of what a mentor that is really, really supporting you looks like and what would move you forward. Because what I know for sure that we touched on earlier is you just don't know what you don't know. I don't know what I don't know, and you don't know what you don't know, and we all don't know different things, but we get to be honest about it, right? And so support from a mentor literally moves you forward faster and allows you to get it no matter what, whatever it takes. I love to say that over and over again. So write that down. Commit to yourself to get a mentor no matter what, whatever it takes. And here's why. I did not know what I was doing when I was the president and CEO of a chamber of commerce, but all these wonderful, weird fabulous people popped into my life throughout that. And I never in my life imagined I wanted to be a business owner, but I will never forget this sweet older woman, for whatever reason, was introduced to me and asked to take me to lunch. And I had heard that she had a company, I didn't know that much about it, that worked in, I believe it was HR, recruiting for computer jobs. And she was so nice and funny. I had no idea why she asked me out to lunch, but she had seen my work and she had seen me on TV in the town that we worked in. And she said, you know, have you ever thought about being an entrepreneur? And I really hadn't at that time. And she's like, I'd like to share my story with you, if I may, because at the end, I would like to talk to you about your mentor. And I'm like, what does she mean? So she had been fired. Notice I mentioned that unabashedly, at 50, at the top of her game. I don't know what the story was about why she was fired. I don't think she ever got into it, but she was devastated. And what she was thrilled about, she told me, was that the competition for what she was doing in recruiting immediately hired her at an even better salary than her previous employer. But she went so excited running home to tell her husband about that win. And he looked at her and said, why wouldn't you just open up your own company to try and do that? And she was like, what? And he was like, I'll help you. And she's like, I wouldn't know what to do about running a company. He's like, I don't want to hear it. You're the best recruiter, which is why you've just been snatched up. They probably couldn't afford all the what's it called, commission that you were drawing from having so many clients. And she said, I'm 50 years old. How could I possibly start my own company? With the support and being scared out of her mind of just her husband and a few friends, she not only launched a brand new IT company in the town where she had just lost her job and just gotten a bid from the next highest success company in the area. She became so successful so fast that she made $1 million in her first year in business. She told me that year she did whatever it takes. She scrubbed toilets, but then she learned how to hire, and so on and so on. And she made a vow to find other people and believe in them. And for whatever reason, she believed in me and my gifts in storytelling. And to this day, I love helping my clients share their stories and messages. And I literally would not be sitting here today if I didn't have her and other people that I have hired through the years to help me to be where I am. Because you move forward faster when you don't know what you don't know, but you get support. So I would love to see in the chat if you have a mentor, if you would like a mentor, if a mentor has also served you in your life. Because it's really good to see what works and what doesn't work, right? I will never forget Barbara for taking me to lunch and sharing that at 50, you can transform your life, create personal freedom, and then commit to the rest of your life giving that gift back to others, which is why I've shown up today. It's pretty awesome. And if you are a mentor, I would love to know, if you are a mentor, what's the most rewarding thing? If you're looking for a mentor, what would be an ideal mentor? That's a great thing to write down. And again, I believe the reason I keep saying of putting notes in front of you is that the brain, literally, we operate on what we call 90%, you can write this down, subconscious decisions, meaning we're only in control of 10% of our actions. Our subconscious rules our lives. This is scientific data. So if you program yourself on what you're focused on every day, you write whatever you are focused on in front of you, you're subconsciously working with what guides you 90% of the time. Are you following me? So here's the thing. Sometimes you outgrow a mentor. Sometimes you recognize you might not have the right mentor. Sometimes you don't have a mentor. Sometimes you have the perfect person for you. And I say, never let them go out of your life and your heart, because that's it. But there is no better path than if you combine clarity, connections, courage, and having a mentor. Please let me know what you hear me saying in the chat, and if this is landing for you. I always like to check in. What do you hear me saying? And And it's really important to me that we have a conversation and dialogue back and forth. So as a trainer and all the things that I've done through the years, it's really important to just check in. And we're coming down the home stretch here. So I'm not sure why you showed up today. Maybe it was because you're frustrated that at times you can't articulate your message. So normal. I hear that all the time. It could be that you're struggling to find time to market and promote yourself. Very common. This is something that comes up all the time, all day, every day. Many of us have a time thing. I know at times I have a time thing. So the word time, sometimes it even triggers me, but it's a reality. We don't always make the time or find the time to do the things that we know are important. Maybe you're here today because you heard all the buzz that getting seen or heard and hired without selling is the way to go, but you had no idea how to do it. Here's the thing. We talked about it a little bit at the beginning. If you tuned in a little late, here's the full enchilada. You can get seen and heard, and you can invest in doing things. But I am here to teach that you should never, ever sell. And you're like, what the heck is she talking about? I'm in business. And I'm just going to go through for housekeeping. I think there's a few of you. Oh, I get to mute. There we go. Make sure you're on mute. But here's the thing. You literally should not sell ever, 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 because here's why. I mean, type in the chat why you wouldn't want to sell. And if you understand where I'm going with this. My favorite word that comes up is slimy. I don't think you want to work with somebody who's slimy and salesy. And I don't think when you're there trying to share about your company or services, you want to feel slimy. And selling always feels that way. But if you are so dialed in on your marketing and messaging, someone like myself, a professional, can literally give you 3 things to focus on, and they might change through time, through the size of your company, right? That will help you get the visibility, get the features, get seen, and get heard, which attracts the right people and tribe. And there are so many systems and ways to do that, but they're not for everybody. You might have a product or service which is marketed a totally different way than a coach. A coach is all about energy and their message and what differentiates them from others. You have something called, write this down, a unique value proposition. Every single person has it with their company, their products, or service. That's one thing that makes you different from the rest. And one of my favorite brand strategists, and he's super famous, always has this analogy. You're in the sea of sameness until you figure out what makes you different. And the sea is vast and big. There are 100,000 coaches out there. There are 100,000 people peddling products or services. What is your unique value proposition? Some people have no idea. It is definitely my gift and one of my fun things to talk about. But I invite you to start brainstorming, because if you're not clear on your unique value proposition, what separates you from others, you're slowing yourself down. You're not able to articulate it, which helps really get you picked up, which helps you get hired, which stops you from being in this weird energy of selling because you're serving. You're very clear on the one thing you can serve for others. Let me know if you're understanding what I'm saying. Type in the chat, because I want to make sure. This is where some people get really frustrated. And it's important. Having a clear message attracts everything that you desire. Being clear on, type it in the chat. I want to make sure you understood. What are the 5 W's? Maybe what are your 5 W's? Did you write it down, and do you want to share? Like, this is a chance where you have people who might want to work with you. Like, everywhere you go, I want you to start thinking about that. If you are clear on who you are, what you're doing it, where you're doing it, and why, and how to say it succinctly and clearly, that is what draws people in. That's attraction marketing. You don't need to buy a billboard. You need to be clear on how you articulate it on your website, when you meet people, on your business card, on your live broadcast, and at the barista. So the clarity is what it's all about. So if you're still here and you're committed, you can get started with me. And remember, Nothing shared today is fluff. It's the exact formula, which is why I was so excited about trying something new that I've used to help clients attract millions of dollars and media exposure and opportunities. And I'm really, really committed to giving you one takeaway. If there's one thing you take away from today, please never, ever forget this. You can't get seen, heard, and hired without help sharing your unique, amazing message. And my real hope is that today you're getting clear on that. That was my mission. And if there was a way to get my system that gives you clarity and momentum, one of my other favorite M words, my signature talk, which we didn't talk about, is the M factor, marketing, messaging, mindset, and more, because momentum is something like money, and money loves speed, as Shanda Sumter, my mentor and friend, shares all the time. And you need momentum to share your message. So if there was a way to get my system and it would give you more clarity, would you take it? That's the offer. A common question I also get after a training like this, and we're wrapping up, is it possible to go deeper with you? And so you always have a choice. And so the answer is you can waste time and energy doing it alone, like we talked about. And it's so common to be a lone wolf. Or you can fast track with something called the M factor, your marketing, messaging, and mentoring. This is sort of like, let's go back. Are you the solo runner who wants to do it on her own over and over again, which used to be me, or now you like the new me? You're ready to run with a club so you can cross the finish line faster with friends, coaches, and a mentor. That's what it comes down to. I mean, what did you say earlier? Because I absolutely used to be a solo runner until I joined, as I shared with you earlier, my story, a global mastermind. And I saw not only my revenue explode, but I made lifelong friends that support me to this day with my goals. One thing I always like to share with people, because I do tell people about my original investment, and it was crazy. I don't recommend doing that, actually. It was really risky. But I want you to know that you don't have to worry. My mastermind definitely won't cost you $50,000. So whether you are new or just getting started as an entrepreneur, a seasoned business owner, or a semi-successful business owner looking to level up, my Level Up Mastermind that teaches the M factor, marketing, messaging, and mentoring is absolutely right for you. So the Level Up Mastermind, as I said earlier, is based on clarity, connections, and courage, and learning to master your message. And even if you've never joined anything big before, or you've tried programs that didn't serve you, or you're not sure what your message is, the Level Up Mastermind is designed to give you clarity, connections, and courage that are essential to getting you seen, heard, and hired without selling. So you might be sitting here like, okay, yeah, but is it right for me? Okay, well, here's where the fun comes in, and I hope you have a good laugh. Have you found your pink panties? I am not kidding. What is the one thing that is so memorable when you talk to people? The message that you're packaging it in, the way you show up, that really stands out, that is something that can get picked up in one day on ABC, NBC, Fox, and CBS, and then put you on the cover of a newspaper. Have you figured out, with a little creativity and support, what your pink panties are? I mean, I'm really starting to see a theme here. I don't know what's next in my panty journey, but I love creative campaigns and supporting people with finding the one thing. And trust me, I'm sure that doctor in Columbia, South Carolina, who focused on colonoscopy would have never dreamt pink panties would open the door to so much service. So he actually began serving so many patients. I had to help him recruit new doctors. I think we helped him hire 8 new doctors to support his business in 1 year. To me, that was nothing to do with that $1 million that I helped him bring in. The greatest reward is I really helped him save more lives. Colonoscopies literally pick up early cancer detection, which saves lives. So the work that I do and that you do impacts people, and getting it out there and figuring out your pink panty process is absolutely important. And I'd like for you to imagine a trusted tribe of supporters and ending the confusion on your marketing messaging, being featured as my clients get to be on TV, radio, podcasts, magazines. Just like me, they and I have had these amazing, unexpected opportunities, along with access to essential experts that help you get there with no selling. Like, say goodbye to that word. So I just wanted to explain to you how a mastermind works. I know some of you are new to the concept. Some of you have been in my mastermind. Some of you have had an entry snap look at what it's like to be a full member. And this is where we go deep, because I explained a little bit to you about clarity, connections, courage, and mentorship, but I'd like to really bring this home for you. The clarity comes when you dial in and practice your message. You cannot just wake up and be perfect with your message. It takes time, and you get to get clear. And when you're clear, like I said, you can be unstoppable. And it literally takes you from confusion to a powerful, enrolling clarity. Enrolling is what you can do all day, every day. When I learned the difference between selling and enrolling and pulling out of confusion and getting into clarity, it changed my life for forever. It unlocked all of the abundance and so many yeses that I never used to have from people who not only wanted to work with me, but were willing to go the extra mile and do whatever it takes. Because trust me, it takes a lot of courage and clarity. And when you're dialed in on your clarity, it always attracts the right buyers, clients, and tribe. I love, by the way, that I'm seeing so many typos. It makes me giggle. This is a good example of going for it and being of service and not being worried about being a perfectionist, as my friend and client Trish is watching. And the second part of how my mastermind works is every day, all day, every month, we're committed to connecting to ourselves. You can learn what has been missing, not only in you, but what will take you from small business to big opportunities. Being clear on what you get to do and who your perfect partners are to grow and elevate your business so much faster than doing it alone. So doing it alone is never the best scenario. And I want you to think about your personal connections right now. Are you really being honest about what's missing? And do you have 3 connections right now that are referring to you, supporting you, that you're sending business to? Because you know the law of reciprocity. If you support somebody else, they want to give back. Again, it's not selling. It's like the gorgeous exchange of energy that I invite all of you to bring into your lives that is infectious and people want to be a part of, and they will buy that all day, every day. They will invest in that. People want to be connected now more than ever. They want to help other people. They want to make a change. They want to make a difference. But here's the thing, that third C, you get to get courageous. And in my mastermind, we work on this all the time. I put people on stretches. I give them one-on-one coaching because it is not easy to be courageous. But the opposite, living in fear, will hold you back all day, every day. You get to continuously get out of your comfort zone because being live on TV, stages, and being seen is how you grow. Being seen, no matter what, is essential. I don't care if you're a writer like my friend Sean who's watching. You may be so gifted at writing, but if nobody knows about you, you're dead in the water. So you've got to be courageous and stretch, even if you don't want to be on camera. Even if your skin is crawling and your nerves are like almost shot, you get to go for it anyway. Because that courage will take you from broke to big business and from fear to fulfilled. By the way, that just like rolled out of my tongue today. I was adding that in because these are things that I think about all the time. And every millionaire and billionaire that I know takes risks and invests in their growth. And that takes courage. Tell me what you hear me saying. Please type in the chat, because I know this is a difficult conversation. We're sitting here, a lot of you are thinking in fear, what does this mean? And the final process as we let this roll off and we really, really say, like, did she land with me? Is this sinking in? What do I get to do? How do I get seen, heard, and hired? Is mentorship. I know for sure. I don't know what I don't know. And you don't know what you don't know. And what you don't know is so important to consider. What you don't know can leave you dead in the water. And leaning on somebody who already knows what to do removes so much pressure and confusion. Like, I don't know about you, but there are some days I just want to wake up and say, tell me what to do. And like, type just like me if I'm not alone. I mean, I think no matter how successful we are, how powerful we are, we all know that we are not experts at everything. I would be a flat out failure, far from a success, if I was showing up here saying, I know everything it takes to let you live your dreams. No, I'm a marketing, messaging, and media person, helping people grow their businesses by dialing in and getting clear, connected, and being courageous are what I do. And I do not know how to use a spreadsheet. I am horrible at that. In fact, don't ask me to manage my calendar because I will screw it up all the time. I will double book myself. I just did it last week. That is something I get to be supported on in excellence over and over and over again. So I invite you all to consider that you deserve all of these things. And however you want to get there is up to you. But I'm excited to share something with you. This is not a sales presentation. As you know, I don't sell, but I do like giving gifts. So I'm just going to invite, I'm going to type in the chat here a moment. I'm going to invite you, if you'd like, to book a call. And the first 10 people who book a call will get VIP live training from me on 18 ways to raise your visibility in 2021 to unlock your personal visibility plan. So we look at the 18 most frequent ways, and then we will literally teach you what the top 3 are for you, because everybody is different. I am so sick of people who are saying, like, here's the system, this always works, and this is how it works, and it works for everybody. No, you really get to look at the top 3 most important areas in media for you to be in, if that's what you want to do. And on top of that, visibility can transform everything in your business and revenue, and creating attraction marketing is what you get to do. In my mastermind, should you book a call, and by the way, I just want to be very, very clear. Not everybody gets to be in my mastermind. It is now invitation only. But you get to have 3 coaches if you decide to join. Myself, and we get to coach one-on-one in this program, a high performance coach, and you get a personal trainer. And you're like, what? She didn't talk about personal training or a high performance coach. Here's the deal. Remember when I mentioned I used to burn out all the time? I find entrepreneurs have this little problem from time to time. It's called balance. We all have a clear dream and goal. We all want to market. We all want to dial in our message. But sometimes we are not willing to take a look at what's in the gap. A high performance coach goes straight in there to remove those blocks and works regularly with people in my mastermind to do so. And I'm sorry, you got to have movement. That's another favorite M. If you want to have a profound, happy, well-rounded, healthy life, because I'm not just here to have you create your message and have a heart attack from all the stress, you get to have a personal trainer. You even get live guided meditations in my program, because here's the deal. I have been in so many programs. Type in the chat if you've been in a lot of programs through the years. So many. But they aren't full circle. They don't take a holistic look at not just what your marketing and messaging is and how you raise your revenue, which is my wheelhouse. They don't look at what is missing to make you a high performer and keep you there, to keep it sustainable. So I believe everybody should have a personalized workout each month and somebody checking in on them. You should learn the gift of meditation to slow down and round out so that you can persist and have not just some success, but extraordinary success. That's why my mastermind is called Level Up. We all have a higher level we get to, but we don't get there burning out. So that's why I believe everybody gets to have 3 coaches. So that's the cool part of it all. I'm going to go ahead and type in the chat. You're like, wow. If you have to jump off, you can catch details in the replay. And here's the cool news. The first 10 people, I'm going to put it in the chat, who book a call with me, there's the link, not only get tickets to that event, but when things unlock, if you can get yourself to California, I'm going to treat you to an exclusive chartered sailboat sunset cruise where we can map out together what personal success means for you and your business. So you get to come and sail away with me, because I really believe it's a season of giving. And that's something I just did. I just chartered my first boat with my mom when she visited. It was outrageous. I don't know any other way than how to thank you for investing time to talk to me about the program than the 18 ways to raise your visibility and looking at them and designing your own program. But wait, there's more for fun. I have been really working on getting healthy and healthier, and that's what I'm committed to with all of my clients. And so the first 5 people to book a call with me are going to get not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 organic meals if you live in the States. That's the only sad thing. If you're out of the States, you can't get them shipped to you from Green Chef, my favorite service that sends beautiful organic ingredients to you. So this is where we get to have fun. I get to give you some giveaways, and thank you so much for coming out to learn, for investing the one valuable resource that you literally can never, ever, ever, ever replace. So if you haven't opened the chat, grab a slot. It would be my joy to talk to you about the mastermind. And if I can serve and support you, I will. If I can't, I won't. And I didn't share this with you, but I do only have 8 slots left in my mastermind. So I hope to see you. Grab a slot. Remember, as you close out your day and this event, nothing changes if nothing changes. Insanity is repeating the same behavior and expecting different results. My favorite man, Einstein, says that, and I have to remind myself that over and over when I'm breaking patterns. And only those who book a call today get the VIP 18 Ways to Raise Your Visibility live training and tickets to sail away with me onto the ocean. And together, I would love to map out what TV, radio, podcasts, magazines, blogs, and renewable assets and credibility, and of course, abundance lies ahead for you. In case you are curious about me and we've just met for the first time, like I said earlier, I encourage you to really allow your clients and friends and colleagues to share what you've been able to create. My fellow mastermind and attorney, Miranda, really, really shared some kind words for me online, reviewing my work. She said, I'm a savvy creative marketing genius from LinkedIn to broadcasting with mastermind in between. I'm a wealth of knowledge and a powerhouse. Using me will take you straight to the next level, was her share. And, here's the thing. It's really, really important that you let other people share your message. That's another secret weapon that you can have. When you have a really clear message and marketing plan, you don't have to do everything yourself. You can allow others to support you and your dreams and goals. And the greatest way to do that is to allow your friends, colleagues, and clients to share about you. So Mr. Smart posted on my LinkedIn. And by the way, let's connect. Go to LinkedIn. I'm Meredith Allen there. Not only does Meredith possess plenty of marketing savvy, but she's also a master networker with a deep understanding of public relations, broadcasting, and online marketing. Now is the time for you to be online, folks, if you aren't already. I would love to serve you and support you. And I am very excited to have been able to share this presentation for the first time ever. And if you have any questions, send me a note. And if you couldn't take notes fast enough, please watch the replay, share it with a friend. It's my gift to you for the holidays, as are all those bonuses if we get to sign up and work together. I love, love, love supporting you when you're running down a dream and your message. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Trish, for coming out. I love you and appreciate you. I hope we get to have a quick call so I can learn about your goals and dreams and see if it's a fit. And more than anything, I wish you health, happiness, and mastering your message in this coming new year. I would love to support you with it. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is such a joy to be with you. And so many of you who are my clients, thank you so much for being there for me. I love you. Have a great day, guys. Mwah.